Morning, everyone. I like seeing your beautiful faces. Okay. Zura, yesterday in tutorial, Alexander was getting your music for your for your podcast. And so we were giving him advice on music. So we were listening to a lot of music yesterday, Zura. You have a good partner in Alexander. Got to keep that one. Okay.
Yes, Alexander is
all right.
awesome.
No, he's great. It's awesome. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and let's be sure everyone's working in the right place. So hold on, let me share. So people in classes in the United States, you are in OneNote, collaboration space. Okay, I'm going to show you here where it says collaboration space, elements of fiction, and it says 1,000 Splendid Suns. Do you see that? Go into collaboration space, elements of fiction. So right above it are the elements of fiction, just elements, yeah, elements, click elements, yeah. Okay, you guys with me? All right, Mohammed and Cassie, are you with me on this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so in that space, you're going to go down. So here are the elements of fiction, right? And we're going to talk through these and put some of them down already. Okay, for the story that we are reading right now, 1,000 Splendid Suns. So you'll see 1,000 Splendid Suns is blank, right? Because that's where you're typing in. Okay, I'm not going to be typing in that area. I'm going to be, hi Ben. I'm going to be typing in the Word document. Okay. All right, so it is your responsibility. Ben, you need to be in OneNote, collaboration space, elements, 1,000 Suns. So it is your responsibility to be putting in the same information. Each one of you is capable of typing in there. So I should be seeing everybody's little initials, okay? So that you're all feeding into it. Okay. For people in Kabul, I am in the folder that I shared with you. And if you need me to do it again, oops, wrong one. I am in the folder that I shared with you, 1,000 Splendid Suns, that has the PDF of the book and then some other documents. And I think it was, hey, Sean. You'll see here that I put the elements of fiction, just the document that explains them in here. Okay. And then I've created a blank document, 1,000 Suns, elements of fiction. And that's what we're going to talk about initially, and then we'll finish reading. We'll read chapter 5. Okay? Okay. So, people in Kabul, give me some sort of thumbs up or something that you know where I'm working. And I'm going to do it while sharing my screen in the event that you're not in there right away, that you can see as we have this conversation what's being added. Okay. So if you're struggling to find the document, I'm going to just be showing it anyway, and then we can work to make sure you have access to it after. Okay. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Paula says thumbs up. Mohammed says thumbs up. Okay. All right, so let's talk about what the elements of fiction are. And so fiction is something that is not real, right? And one of the things that, let's see if I can make this bigger for us. One of the categories is historical fiction. And historical fiction simply means that a untrue tale is being told within the context of real events. Okay, real places, real events. And sometimes they include real people. Sometimes it's political leaders or, famous people in situations that you might know about. Okay. So A Thousand Splendid Suns is historical fiction. And we understand that, right? I always abbreviate it. Historical fiction, right? Okay, makes sense? Okay, so if we look at, and I want this to be a conversation, so I don't want to just be telling you the whole time. Part of learning is taking a stab at answers. And more often than not, in my teaching style, you will find that I am asking you for the answer and not just giving it. Okay, especially since, and this is something really important to remember, and we talked about this in my US class when we talked about The Alchemist, the reader is as important as the writer of the book. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that we bring into it our knowledge, our emotions, our experiences. Okay, so it reads differently to every person. Any book reads differently to any person. So, for example, in this book, when we get to the section where the Twin Towers fall in the United States, you guys weren't even alive, were you? No, you guys weren't even alive, right? I was very much alive, and I had small children, and I watched the second plane go into the tower live on television, because by that time we'd all heard about it, and it was all over the news. So I have an emotional response to that event that you guys wouldn't have, right? So it has a lot of meaning to me, that particular part of the book. So what our experiences are and what we know about a particular topic really play into it. And please put your phone away. So that's something that's important to keep in mind, that what we bring to a novel is as important as what the author brings to a novel. Okay. All right. For you, we're actually in OneNote. Yeah, OneNote collaboration space. There's a space there for you guys to type in. Okay. So keep that in mind as we talk about this, which is another reason why having it a discussion more than a lecture is important. Okay. So when we're looking at our elements of fiction, the first one we talk about is narration, right? Okay. So who is the narrator? And in this context, sometimes it's actually a character in the book, right? So that would be considered first person. If someone is a character in the story and is saying, I, then it is first person. This is not a first person narration. There are many books that are. So this is a third person narration. What does that mean? Are you on the right topic right now? Are you sure? And you need to move the paper. What does third person mean?
Teacher, this question from us.
I'm sorry. You guys can answer too. Yeah, Sean was just answering. We need to be
Okay,
louder so that
so
people can hear. Go ahead, Fariba.
Okay, I think the third person means when when the writer spoke about the other person, like he, she, and they, and a name.
Right. So, do you want to add to that, Sean? What she said? He, she, they, and using characters' names. Okay, so it's not a person in the story. Okay, in this case, it's not a person in the story. I've also put the word limited there. Okay, so limited means that we're getting the perspective of the characters, but only some. In this case, sometimes it's only the protagonist. Okay, it can still be third person and the protagonist is used by name. Our protagonist at this point is named Miriam, and we'll talk about her. But we will get the perspective of another character later on, but it's limited because we don't get into the heads and into the thoughts of all the characters in the story. Okay, so there are multiple characters interacting with each other, but we really get the perspective at this point of Miriam, right? And then later we'll get the perspective of Layla. Okay, so that makes it limited, right? We're in the heads of two characters. All right, so somebody have a question?
Yeah. So teacher, do you think that when we say that third person limited, so we mean by limited that we only focus and want to know the perspective of the main character in the story, right?
Yes, it means that we get more of their inside thoughts than the inside thoughts of any other character.
Oh.
Does that answer your question?
And,
Or I'm
Miss,
confirming
how
your
about,
statement.
a third person omniscient?
Omniscient means you're going to get the perspective of multiple characters, like many. So let's say, for example, if we use the book that we're talking about right now, we've been introduced to Layla, we've been introduced, I'm sorry, Miriam, we've been introduced to Nana, and we've been introduced to Jaleel, right? Okay.
Okay.
We don't really know what's going on inside Jaleel's head. We only get it from the perspective of Miriam being excited when he comes and the conversations that they have, right? Same with Nana. We get it from Miriam's perspective of Nana.
Okay, can we have both the third person limited and omniscient in one story?
No. No. If it's going to be omniscient, you're going to know early on that you're going to get perspectives of every character. And sometimes when we talk about structure, sometimes the author will have a chapter per person, per character, and that's one of the ways they do the omniscient. Is they actually will give an entire chapter to a particular character, so we're getting inside the thoughts of that character. So for those of you who read The Alchemist, I would say The Alchemist is more omniscient, while Santiago was him, was the protagonist and the hero. We did get the inside from the king at one point briefly, right? When he's sitting back and proud of himself for getting Santiago to go on, right? We get a little bit from the Englishman, right? For what his perspective is. And we do get some from the alchemist. So we don't really get any from Fatima and not as much from the crystal merchant. But we do get some inside thoughts from other characters in that book. Does that make sense to you, Ali? Did you notice that when reading The Alchemist?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Yes. Just a little bit, yes, much less so than first person, obviously. But so when we get a first person perspective, the other thing we need to keep in mind is that it's not necessarily reliable because it's only coming from from that person's perspective. So if you think about it, and you think, okay, I'm going to tell my story. Well, it's only my truth, right? When I tell a story about myself, and there may be other people involved in it, like my students, who might have a completely different perspective on the same event. Okay. So it makes it very limited. When it's third person, it's a little less limited because the story is about, and we get a lot of the perspective of a particular character, but it's not necessarily an opinion like a first person is. I don't know if that makes sense. Did that make sense? Paula says that made sense. Okay, we're going to go with Paula. Yeah, so it's not only the opinion of one person, it's a higher perspective. Okay. You guys doing all right putting this in the collaboration space? Okay, great. All right. So does everyone see how A Thousand Splendid Suns is a third person limited narrative? Thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. Just if you don't, just believe me. Okay. All right. So we have the narration. Let's talk about setting. Okay. So setting can involve a lot of different aspects, right? So we have the very large setting we have, which is what? What country is this story being told about, or what is it taking place in? Come on, loud! Everybody can say it. Afghanistan. If we don't know that the story's in Afghanistan by now, whew, I'm not teaching very well. Okay, Afghanistan. All right, so that's the big setting. At this point in the story, what's the narrower setting? You know what? Maybe you guys need to open your books. Open up your books. Let's do it. Open up your story. Look on page, well, it's up 4 on my page, but probably page 2. The second page of the first chapter. Right in the middle. Where does Jalil live? Jalil never called Miriam this name. Jalil said she was a little flower. He was fond of sitting on her lap and telling her stories, like the time he told her that. Nope. Nope. Good guess though. I'm gonna pull up a map. Herat. Very good. I'm gonna pull up a map of Afghanistan. So I can show you where Herat is. All right. Oops, who's writing my name? All right, here we go. Zoomed in. Here is Herat. I don't need this. No. Okay, here's Herat, way on the western side. Everybody see that? Am I blocking you? Sure. And then Kabul, where our students are, way over here. Okay, and here's Kabul. Okay, so Herat's on the western part. Kabul's a little more, well, definitely east, because this is Pakistan. Okay, everybody see that? All right, that's going to matter in the story shortly, because got to travel all the way from Herat to Kabul. Kabul. Someone tell me how to pronounce Kabul. Kabul or Kabul?
Kabul, maybe.
Thank you.
Kabul.
Okay. All right. So you see where we are? Okay. So you should be putting Herat down, right? Okay. Herat. I probably mispronounced that one too. Okay. Let's get even narrower. Oops, not heart. Ah, it keeps changing it for me. Stop that, Siri. I'm gonna take off the spell check. Okay. Oh, good. Who's in there? Oh, Ali's in there. Great. Oh, good. You can type, Ali. I don't have to type. You keep saying heart. I'm gonna have to try
Okay,
and
that's
fix
right. I can type for you.
that. Okay, you can type for me. Okay. Zoom in here a little bit. All right, let's get even narrower. What else do we have for setting? Where does Miriam live? This is going to take us an awfully long time, people. Where does Miriam live with Nana? Right on the first page.
Can we answer?
Yes, absolutely. Please do. You're in the class. Yep.
She lives in Herat, means part of Guldaman.
Part of Guldaman, right? And she lives in the
Mhm.
Kolba, right? By herself with
Yes.
Nana? Yes.
Yeah.
So I would you can put Guldaman, and I don't know why I keep saying heart, it's annoying me, but Guldaman in the Kolba. Do you want to say something, Ben? No, we're just scratching. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see. What year is it? Roughly. Yeah, that's a good guess. 1960s, maybe early 70s by the time she gets older, because she gets older fast. She was born, what year was Miriam born? 59, good, 1959. So the setting at this point is the 1960s. Okay, why does that matter? Yeah, it tells us the background of that time, and as we start to learn about the people and their activities, it makes more sense knowing what decade it is in, right? So yeah, 1960s. Are you typing, Ali? Shall I
No,
type? No?
you can type.
All right. 1960s. I'm going to put Kolba. One of the things the students here will notice in their book, and I may do the same thing in your PDF, is that words that are not in English are in italics. Okay.
Yeah.
So notice that they're in italics because they're not
Yeah,
English.
we
That
mostly
is
know the
word.
meaning of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So they're words you probably already know.
Yeah.
Okay, 1960s, Kolba, and Herat, which it would far western area of Afghanistan. I don't think I spelled that right. Fix that. Okay. All right. So now we have some setting. DAMAN. Okay. Does anybody want to add anything else at this point to the setting? And again, you guys in Kabul are part of this class. So if there's anything that you want to say, please feel free.
So, teacher, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Teacher, about the elements of sitting, and here we have in PDF, we have so many things, like we have about world, yeah, real or fictional, about environment, yeah, and also state of the world, local cousins. So can you explain about these elements too a little bit?
I didn't slow down when you're speaking, Nazanin. I didn't quite understand.
Okay, teacher, I said that in the elements in seating, okay?
Yeah.
In seating, teacher, we have so many elements, like we have, as you said, country, we have time period, and also we have so many things like weather, and also state of
Yes.
the world. And
Yes.
yeah, we have so many things in here. So can you evaluate, for example, the Roman of Alchemist or other books from this perspective? Or can you explain something
Yes.
about this?
I can. Okay, so what she's saying is that when you look at the elements of fiction and all the possibilities of what could be in setting, so hang on, let me open that one up. There are so many clues. Essentially, those are all clues as to what the setting is. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so see it says place, time, season, right? World, real or fictional, famous people. So one of the things that we'll add to this as we go, because the setting is going to evolve. The time is going to change. The location is going to change. And these are all things that give us clues. So for example, when we start to get into more of the political side in the story, that's why I say it's historical fiction. Those are the types of things we can put into the setting that show us what and when and what it is like there. So when the Taliban comes in, that's to a degree part of the setting because it completely changes the circumstances for everyone, honestly, in Afghanistan, but primarily for women and for our characters. Okay, so those are the types of things. And holidays, again, you know, so we're going to see about Ramadan, for example, and that tells us that we're in a Muslim country, right? So we could even put that in at this point, but we just haven't encountered it yet. So we can keep adding to it. And weather, at this point, it's probably dry and hot, right? So weather can influence it. I don't think it does as much in this novel as it does in others. Okay. Does that help you? And local cuisine is another. What are they eating? Like the fact that they bake their bread in a tandoor, that tells us something, doesn't it? Yeah. A tandoor is an outdoor, it's like an outdoor clay oven. Yeah. Okay, so that gives us some clues. So Nazanin, these when I say settings and we have all of these elements to it, they're basically clues that tell us what the setting is. Did that answer your question?
Yes, teacher. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Miss, how about integral to the story in the setting part?
Wait, say it again, Ali. How what?
How about integral to the story? Can
Oh,
you give us
integral
an
to the
example?
story?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, can this story take place anywhere but Afghanistan? Probably not really. Given what's about to happen, it has to be, you know, it is certainly purposely set in Afghanistan because it's pulling elements that are part of your religion, your culture, your location, and then certainly the era as well. So right now in the 1960s. So as we read further in, it's going to become more apparent as the actions take place that this is something that is unique to Afghanistan. Now,
Okay,
can
got it.
other stories, you know, there's certainly other stories that are unique to the United States that we can tell, right? So what you're living, you're you know, you're learning about the Civil War in history class, right? And there are
Yeah.
certainly stories around the Civil War that are unique to the United States. So it's that same, so the setting is integral to the story, whether it's fictional, you know, sometimes it's outer space, right? Or some fantasy world. And that matters because it's not true. You know, it's not a real place based on real real circumstances and real people and real events. So the setting is integral, yes.
We got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, teacher, to interrupt you, but only one question, okay?
Sure.
Teacher, do you think that when we evaluate a novel or a book by the elements of setting, okay, like for example, as you explained for us, like when, the time, and also the country, yeah?
Yeah.
So do you think, yeah, so do you think that by evaluating a novel from these perspectives of elements of setting, this can help us that we somehow evaluate the book to reach in one point? For example, when we evaluate the book of, for example, this book that we are studying about Mariam, yeah, a thousands of, yeah. So when we, yeah, when we evaluate this book from the elements of setting. So these things can help us to say that, yeah, this book is from Afghanistan, yeah, or for example, it happened in a specific time. So what do we mean exactly by the elements of teaching when we evaluate a book? So do you think that this can help us to only achieve one point or take an integral something? Yeah.
So my hope in teaching literature is that the elements of fiction that an author uses to create a story, when you take them apart and you analyze them, it will help you to understand the story, the characters, and the goal of the author more. So rarely
Ah.
rarely is there a work written of fiction or nonfiction that doesn't have a purpose, right? So, and we can talk about that purpose, which can be the themes, right? We'll be talking about the themes. It can be the symbols that the author uses. And in this next chapter, we're going to talk about one of those symbols. So it's an opportunity to not just enjoy a good story, but to really understand why the author created the story the way, in this case, he did, so that you have a deeper understanding of it. And then as you read in the other stories in the future, whether it's short stories, we'll also do some poetry. Khaled Hosseini has a wonderful poem actually about refugees I'll bring up as well. That as you read, you start to dissect the book and the intent of the author more and more, so that you learn to read more deeply everything that you read in the future.
Oh, thank
And
you
that
so much.
actually
Yeah,
can be
got it.
applied to, that can be applied to other things as well. That can be applied to movies, for example. You know, movies often have a lot of character development and depth to them, and then they have a visual element as well. So the goal is for you to learn how to read really carefully. Yeah. Nazanin, did you have a question? No, not Nazanin. Was it Karishma? You have a question? You with me here, Jeffrey, or are you guys with me that are on your computers? Okay. Marwa.
Teacher, I have a question about that. There is a question that who is the narrator of the story, and it's two options that the first person is limited, and this, for example, the third person is omniscient, and yeah. What's the meaning of this? How we should know about this, that the first person is limited? What's the meaning of this? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so again, the first person means that a story is being written by a character in the story, and it only comes through their perspective. So they will say, for example, I spent an afternoon with Miriam and saw that she was excited her father was coming. Right? That's not how this book is written. This book is written in third person, which means it's not a character in the story. It's kind of a, how would we say it? Like somebody, hovering above. So they can see more than one character, but it's limited because it's being focused on two characters in the story. And so we see what their thoughts are and their feelings are more than any other character. Probably breaking up. Does that help you?
It's limited. It means it has a lot of characters.
It has more than one perspective, but not a lot. Omniscient means all-seeing. Omniscient. We often refer to God as omniscient. He everywhere, all the time. Limited means that there are fewer characters from whom we can see their perspective.
Okay, if we have question that who is the narrator of the story, we should focus on limited characters or omniscient characters.
Oh, okay. So I guess are you seeing the document I'm typing? Are you look at my,
No.
are you looking at this? Okay, my screen is shared. So you should be able to see it. It's third person limited. I don't know why you're not seeing it.
Okay, teacher, no problem. I tried to solve it.
Okay, it's also a document. If you go, Ali and Zura are both in the document. So it's a document in the Thousand Splendid Suns folder that I shared with you to your High Bluff email. Your High Bluff account.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the character. Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the characters. Who is Miriam? I'm going to say she's our hero / protagonist. Right? Okay. What do we know about Miriam so far? Oh, whoops, protagonist. What do we know about Miriam? Good. Born in 1959. What else do we know?
Okay, teacher, according to the story that we have studied about Mariam,
Mhm.
she lives in
That's good.
Herat. Yeah, she lives in Herat. She lives in a traditional house that her mother, Nana John, her mother somehow is objective. No, his mother is opposite of studying the knowledge because she emphasized that Mariam should be
Right.
at home and learn, for example, the houseworks or house chores. So we know that Mariam is a girl in Afghanistan and she lives in a traditional home with difficult situations actually.
Yes. And the only atypical situation for her is that she is also illegitimate, right? So she is Jalil's daughter,
Yeah.
but Jalil is not marrying Nana, right? So her mother refers to her as a harami, which isn't very nice because she broke her tea set, but she is in fact an illegitimate child. And you can put that in, Zura. You're doing fine typing. So she lives in a traditional home with her mother in outside of Herat, right? And she has not left the Kolba ever, which is kind of crazy. And you also pointed out, which is good, that she wants to be educated, but her mother will not allow it. She wants to go to school. So at this point, the only education she is receiving is from one of my favorite characters in this book, Mullah Faizullah. I like to say his name, Mullah Faizullah. And he teaches her the Quran, right? Taught her to read. So at this point, he is her only connection to education. And Jalil, her father, is the only connection to the outside world for her, right? To Herat and everything else. She's from Herat. Yeah. So not in Kabul. She might she'll eventually be there, but in Herat. Good catch. It's going to change it to her heart again. I know. Okay. And Nana. So that's good. We know a lot about Miriam. Nana is Miriam's mother. Good. Miriam's mother. What do we know about her personality?
Okay.
I'm going to have to say I'm glad she's not my mother. She is, I would put her, I'm going to use this word, she is bitter. That's a good English term for someone who is unhappy, right? She is unhappy with her life. She is unhappy with her husband, or her, not her husband, the fact that she has this child out of wedlock by a man who could not be honorable enough to marry her, right? Okay, she is bitter and she often takes it out on Miriam. I do believe she loves
Yes, teacher.
Miriam, but it doesn't show very well.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, Nana was a scared mother, and we can understand and comprehend Nana.
You can. Okay. Okay, Jalil is Miriam's father. You guys adding this to
Yeah.
OneNote? That's what you call your grandmother. That's what so it's interesting. Lucy was just pointing out that Nana here means grandmother. That's what my kids call my mother too. Yeah, Nana. So we're not used to Nana being a mother rather than a grandmother. Jalil is Miriam's father. He is, tell me about Jalil.
He is one of the richest men in the Herat. In Herat.
Yes, he is wealthy. Wealthy businessman, right? He owns multiple businesses.
Actually, he has about
Yes, and
11
he had
children.
3 wives with 10 children.
Yes,
With Miriam,
10,
11.
unless you, with 11, yeah, so we're gonna count Miriam. He's got, let's add the wives first. 3 wives, 11 children. Yeah. So, here's a question for those of you in Kabul. Is it typical for men in Afghanistan still to have more than one wife?
Yes, teacher.
Actually,
Actually, my
teacher.
father,
yes,
my
that's
father
it
had
doesn't
2
have any
wives.
problem here.
Ah, interesting. So someone's father there has 2 wives. Yeah.
Actually, my
So see, that would not happen in
grandfather
the
has
United
4
States.
wives.
Wow. Okay. Okay. See, so
You can have
that wouldn't happen here. It's not legal to have more than one spouse. I can only have one husband, and he can only have one wife. So that's another thing that's, you know, if you talk about setting, that makes it unique, right? That gives us a clue about
Yeah.
setting. It's how many legally how many spouses you can have. Yeah. Now, women don't have
Yes.
multiple husbands though, right? It's only men who get multiple wives.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would refer to that as a
Teacher,
patriarchal society. Not fly here. Well, in the Mormon communities, that was true for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teacher,
All
I
right.
have a question.
3 what?
Can I ask?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, teacher. In the story,
Mhm.
we have some takes that Jalil always spoke to Mariam about the cinema, about the beautiful life that they have, about how they go to the place to Bazar. And as we know, the situation of Afghanistan when Mariam was in the 10 or 11 years old, it was very bad. And what do you think? Jalil was right or no? Just he cheated Mariam.
That's a really good question. And I guess it depends on if you ask Nana that question or you ask Jalil. I do believe he has a movie theater. You know, movies became really popular in the kind of 1940s. They started to become popular. So it may have been possible at that time in Herat for him to own multiple businesses, including a movie theater. How much truth he tells Miriam about the time they've spent together is something that we can talk about as the story continues, because that comes into play. That the truthfulness of Jalil becomes an issue in this story. At the moment, we know that
Okay,
he
teacher,
visits
thank
her.
you.
Yeah, we know that he visits her on Thursdays, right? And she, I'm going to put right here, traditional house in Herat. I'm going to note that Miriam idolizes her father, right? Idolizes her father, right?
Okay, teacher.
So she really, you know, those Thursdays is when she really looks forward to having him come. All right, I have to spell Mullah Faizullah right. Mullah Faizullah. Who is Mullah Faizulla? Faizulla. Yeah, I just need an H. H. Who's Mullah Faizullah?
He is Mariam's teacher.
Yes, Quran teacher, right? Taught her to read.
Yeah, Quran teacher.
And he taught her to read, and he tries to convince Nana to let Miriam go to school, right? Why won't Nana let Miriam go to school?
Because Nana saying that when Mariam go to school, the other person will laugh to Mariam and say that you're harami.
Yeah. Yep. And additionally, why?
Maybe it can be a traditional issue because in the past it was just like a shame for girls to go to school.
Ah, that's good. That's interesting. See, you get a perspective that we don't have.
Because
The other thing she
when my
says,
mother was going to school, when she was a little girl, mostly her neighbors means just tell her that it's not good for you to go to school and it's somehow it's not good. Yeah.
so that's interesting, right? So your mother got the same message that that Nana gave Miriam. The other one of the quotes from Nana that I like and will play a role throughout the story is she says, a woman's let's see, let's rephrase that. All a woman needs to learn is to endure.
To endure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, endure. So what does she mean by that?
It means, teacher, that women should have endure in their lives because people will laugh for them. Yeah. People somehow will say ridiculous things to them, but they should endure all those problems and challenges.
Yes, we're supposed to just live through everything that comes at us, right? We just have to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a really great message, not a very hopeful message. And while there's some truth in that, but that's true for all of us, we have to endure some circumstances. It doesn't have to be our entire existence. We hopefully can do things to make it a little bit better than that, right? But that's how Nana feels, and that's why I kind of go back to her being bitter. You know, she feels that she just has to survive and exist and endure, right? Man, we're running out of time here. Okay.
Okay, teacher.
Yes, question?
We have we have the personality of antagonist in antagonist. Yeah. So can we tell to Nana that Nana is an antagonist personality in this story because she is the opposite of learning knowledge? Yeah. So can we call Nana an antagonist personality or character in this story?
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't ever thought of that. I think in the short term, yes, she could be considered an antagonist to Miriam. You may change your mind on that eventually, but at this point, I would agree with you. You will find that there are other antagonists that show up in the story that are going to be very obviously antagonists. But you're right, Miriam is kind of Nana is kind of preventing Miriam from growing more, right? But we'll see how that plays out as we continue to read. Did that answer your question?
Oh yes, teacher. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not agree with you. I think antagonist is a little different with Mariam's mom.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mariam's mom thought about Mariam's life, and if Mariam's went to school, it was bad. So because we know the behavior of Afghan person when a person or when a girl didn't have any father, or we know that how the person will behave with him or him or her, and I think it is good.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Nana is doing it because she loves Miriam. It doesn't seem like it sometimes, and I think Miriam doubts it sometimes. But ultimately, she's doing it because she loves Miriam, and she doesn't really know any other way to handle it. But what I like about this conversation that's really important for us to keep in mind is that we all are allowed our opinions of what we see in literature. And as long as we can kind of support those opinions from evidence from the text, everyone is correct. So I think you could make a case for Nana being an antagonist to a degree, right? But you can also say, well, maybe
Yeah,
she's not.
yeah.
So yeah, so it can kind of go
Yeah.
both ways, which is what makes literature so interesting, because there's no perfect and right answer. It's simply, again, because we're the reader, what we see into it, and then what the evidence is that is in the text. So that's why these
Okay,
discussions,
yes,
I think,
teacher.
are really interesting.
Yeah.
Boy, we
So
only have
yes,
5
teacher, in
minutes left.
literature,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So teacher, in literature, in literature, the thing that's so important, we have to keep in mind that we can declare our opinions, but we should not force other people to accept our opinion. Yeah, because when we study a text, we have to, we should
Yes.
somehow,
Yes, I
so
agree with
in
that.
here, so we can say that Nana Jan is an antagonist character because she is opposite of learning knowledge. Yeah. So other
Mhm.
people can say that no, she is not antagonist. So yeah, all the people are right in here actually.
Yes, I
Yes,
agree.
I'm agree with you.
And yeah, and it's also important to keep in mind that we need to be able to voice those opinions, because that's how we learn. So hearing everybody's opinions is part of the learning process, which is why I try to encourage conversation, people, because what everybody sees makes the rest of us see something a little bit differently. So I never thought of Nana as an antagonist, and now that you say it, I go, oh, well, actually, on some level, I would agree with that, right? So that's why having conversations in class is part of the learning process. It's not just you reading, you writing, me dictating. It's the conversation that is what helps all of us learn more.
Yeah, great teacher.
Oh, I should. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Wow, look at that. You guys are like on it. Look at you guys. Wow. So this is what they're putting in the other one. Wow, you guys are really good. Okay, excellent. All right. So we only have a few minutes left, so we're not going to get to reading chapter 5. So I'm going to have you all read chapter 5 for homework. Okay. It's on, I don't know, my book's a little
Okay,
different. So just chapter 5.
Okay, teacher.
If you want to keep reading, you can, but on Monday, we'll be doing 2 writing exercises. One is the vocabulary quiz, and the
Mhm.
other one will be a paragraph quiz with questions pertaining to chapters 1 through 5. Okay,
That's great.
is it what? Yeah, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can open your book. It's right in front of you. Oh my gosh, you don't have any arms. Where are your arms? Did you see I'm on the surf team? Okay. So chapter 5 is on page 25 and it goes until page 36. Okay. So chapter 5, you're reading for homework. And then we will have writing exercises on that and the vocabulary on Monday. Everybody understand? Karishma, do you still have a question? I will send that assignment in Microsoft in the chat, just to make sure everybody heard it in case I'm breaking up with the Wi-Fi issues there. Okay. Cassie and Mohammed, I'm assuming you hear me fine.
Yeah, Monday is vocabulary 6, right?
Yes, is that the one we're on? I think it
I
is.
think so.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look. Let's see. Vocabulary. I got to take that off. Yes, vocabulary 6. So Cassie, Jeffrey, Lucy, Mohammed, there's a bunch of you who haven't done it yet, and that is due today. Okay, the kids in Kabul have got theirs done, so get on it, people. Vocabulary 6. Okay, this is all in grade length for those of you here. So vocabulary 6, I need to
Miss,
take
I
that
have a
off. 'cause he's
question.
not here. Yes.
We are done with vocabulary 7. So when we read the chapter 5, so we should do the vocabulary 8 too, or no?
You may. So what works with vocabulary is every week I ask you to fill the chart in on a by Thursday when the week is over. And then on Monday, I'll give you the quiz on that chart. And then you would do the next one. So next Thursday would be vocabulary 7 due. It's fine if you do it in advance and you can go ahead and do vocabulary 8, but I'll only quiz you once a week. So
Okay,
it's
that's
just
fine.
vocabulary 6 for Monday,
I'm
vocabulary
asking this
7 for the
because
next.
every day we just study 2 chapters, but if we study just chapter 5, it doesn't have any problem to fill it just from words from chapter 5.
You can find words from any chapter. You are not limited by what we have only read. So as you read chapter 5, you can add words to vocabulary 8 if you want to.
Okay.
So
you.
yeah, it doesn't match, the vocabulary doesn't match chapters. It goes by week.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anybody else with a question? No?
Okay, only a minute, teacher, please. So about vocabulary quiz. So will you bring words from inside of the text and we have to write it synonyms like this?
What I'm going to do is choose 8 words from your list. And everybody's responsible for all the words on the list. I'm going to choose 8 words from the list. Then I'm going to put a photograph about at the bottom. And you're going to write a paragraph or sentences using those words that are highlighted in red about that photograph. Okay, yeah. And so it's learning to use the words, and you can look at the words and the definitions as you do it, because my goal is for you to learn to use the words. Okay. All right, Sean.
Okay.
You had a question. The rubric. The rubric. You mean the collaboration space? What do you mean? Oh. Oh, that's yeah, we've already done that. Yeah, that was just showing you. Yeah, that's all done. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Class is over. Okay, I will send a note to you guys just to make sure you understand what is due for Monday. Okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye,
Bye.
teacher. Have a nice time.
Bye. Yeah. Oh, I would love to have it, please.